This is Papa Smurf. You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, with ODB and the Mayor.
Yo, this is Rob Maggi, and you're listening to Our Lifestyle podcast.
Yo, as we get started, we want to thank our title sponsor, Scrapin' the Coast. You can visit scrapinthecoast.com for more information. Their next event, 22nd annual, is going to be the last weekend in June. They haven't yet announced it for 2024, but rest assured we will be out there. One of the biggest, baddest shows in the country. Get ready for more information coming soon on Scrapin' the Coast. Tap on the hashtag #ScrapinTheCoast for more information. We appreciate the continued support of Custom Car Show Productions. Yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is episode 339 of Our Lifestyle Podcast. Thanks for coming back and rocking with us. And again, as you heard at the top, thanks to Custom Car Show Productions, we're looking forward to Scrapin' the Coast 2024 next June in Biloxi. This episode, we got a jam-packed agenda. Now, Miggity Mike the Mayor, I can't get a hold of him right now. The word on the street is he went to Burning Man. He towed his Mazda out there, and he got stuck in the mud. So we're going to have to see if he's going to get helicoptered out of there or what the deal is. I'm going to try to give him a call a little bit later. He's not his phone's going right to voicemail, so I don't know what's going down. Episode 339 is certainly jam-packed. I want to start with saying thanks again to Joey from Majestics for coming on the last episode. If you're a new listener, certainly don't stop here. Go back and listen to the catalog. There's a lot, including the last episode, which was cool. Joey sells his lowrider that he owned for give or take 20 years and ends up going to an icon in the music industry. So I don't want to give it away. No spoiler alerts here, but certainly go back and check out that episode. Now, this episode is jam-packed again. We're going to try to get Miggity Mike the Mayor on. We have Rob Rodell's son, Jackson, who will stop by for a few minutes. He is part of that younger generation that's going to help carry mini trucking into the next decade plus. So not only is Jackson on, we have our title guest at the end, which is going to be Jordan Espinoza, a really good dude. I want to say kid, but certainly he's an adult, and he's out there doing the damn thing. And the cool thing is that although these two guys are a little bit younger, their passion is no less than ours. And I mean that with all respect. These are some good kids up and coming. So tip of the cap, definitely must listen to, especially Jordan Espinoza's, because we go into the full interview as normal. With Jackson, we kind of do a shorter segment, but still nonetheless definitely worth listening to. Now, in between Jackson and Jordan, we will have Craig Braid. He'll stop by to talk a little bit about Sittin Pretti, their event that went down a couple weeks ago up in Washington. So that's pretty cool. And then Justin Wyatt, hopefully we'll link up with him, and we'll talk a little bit about their his show that's going down at the end of this month, Fair Enough. So certainly jam-packed, although we are bi-weekly, at least in 2023. We're keeping the content coming, and that's what's important, right, Tim? All right, episode 339 overview is brought to you by our kinfolk at Hammered Weekend Wear. Visit HAMMERD weekendwear.com. Hit them up. They've got some cool new stuff going down. They have the freestyling OBS with the freestyle bike in the back. They also have the Braid. They have these in hats and shirts and banners and everything in between. So pretty cool stuff. Just Mr. Santos, congratulations. And that's an awesome blazer. And then, of course, the OBS, so awesome. So HAMMERD weekendwear.com. All right, the general updates. Man, I've talked a lot about this, but as we get older, we lose friends, we lose family, we lose loved ones. We also lose sometimes idols or people that we looked up to, or in many cases, celebrities that we grew up either idolizing or watching on TV or in movies and so on and so forth. Now, a few weeks ago, Pee Wee Herman had passed away, and I didn't talk a lot about it. Of course, I had that little inside deal with Mike, I know you are, but what am I, of course, from Pee Wee's Big Adventure. But, when he passed away, there was a lot of tributes done to him, especially on social media, a lot of the different people I follow, which that was certainly cool. A lot of people go to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and they line up some of the photos, including one of my favorite personalities on YouTube, German in Venice, the GIV. Very good channel to check out. But, there was a lot there. Of course, they went to some of the filming locations. Adam the Woo's done that in the past. It's really cool to me that these people can kind of figure out some of this stuff. And but bottom line is, growing up watching Pee Wee's Big Adventure and being a fan of the show and things like that, obviously he was a very talented person, a great comedian. But then shortly after that, the news breaks, we hear that Bob Barker passes away. I thought CBS did a great job on a tribute that they did to Bob Barker. And rest in peace to him. I know he was born in 1923. And imagine, basically passing away in 2023, almost 100 years old. I grew up, of course, in the 80s. My grandmother loved some Bob Barker. We watched, of course, Price is Right in the summer, and any days that I was home from school. Some of you guys have seen those memes about like Bob Barker and chicken soup and things like that, getting us through the school day if we were sick and whatnot. But certainly Bob Barker passing away, that was huge. Now, granted, many of us will go, hey, 99, lived a great life. He passed, he retired, I think, at 83 years old. So when he retired, he did an interview, and CBS piped in some of this during their tribute to him. But he had mentioned that he wanted to retire at 83 years old because he wanted to retire young, right? So he still worked at 83. He had an amazing career. He came back and still made appearances on The Price is Right, which was certainly cool. He did, Drew Carey took over. But Adam Sandler was at his retirement when he came back and did some different gigs, including April Fool's. It was just really cool. Bob Barker loved that show. He loved entertaining people. And then his wife, she passed away many, many years ago. And if you watch the German in Venice, the GIV channel, he talks a little bit about how Bob Barker would go to the gravesite and sit there for like hours and talk to his wife. He truly was like, a lot of people say he just was a great guy. Not only did he help control the pet population, right, with this whole message that Drew Carey has since carried on, he just was a great guy, I think, overall. But that was sad. Of course, 99, lived a very long life. Then news broke over, I think it was over last weekend-ish, that Jimmy Buffett had passed away. Now, I wasn't a big Jimmy Buffett fan, and, I didn't grow up. It just wasn't in my wheelhouse, maybe like it was for my parents or other people that were a little bit older. Certainly some of the listeners might have been big Jimmy Buffett fans. That was certainly sad. I mean, I didn't see that coming. Of course, not in the inner circle there, so didn't know that he was battling anything. But I think if there's something to take away from that is he's really a testament to things that things don't happen overnight. I had read through several different things, but if you think about with Jimmy Buffett, he released, I think, 7 albums before his 1977 or 1978 hit that had Margaritaville on it. So he was not like an overnight sensation, so to speak, but from that album on, he had this illustrious career. Some people love him. Some people maybe not be the biggest fans of his, but he turned into basically like a billionaire, had the whole Margaritaville and things like that. So I'd never been to one of his shows. I've been to the restaurant before and things like that. I get the whole vibe, kind of the casual male, as they call it. But long story short, what I take away from this stuff is, you got to get out, you got to live your life, you got to have fun, do the things you want to do within reason. Of course, live within your means. You got to definitely do that. But yeah, it's tough to hear some of these celebrities pass, and some people really get into it. I think it really depends on how much that person influenced you. If you grew up listening to a particular artist, when they pass away, it might just be like, man, So, it is what it is, but I wanted to kind of share some of those things. The last general update that I have is, of course, football season is upon us. I'll talk about how that ties in a little bit later to some beef that's going down between Spectrum and Disney. So I'm not too happy about it, but we'll see. The general update's brought to you by our family over at Lone Star Throwdown. Visit LoneStarThrowdown.com for more information. Some of you may be saying, hey, ODB, it's sold out. Technically not. The registrations are sold out, but you can still get an armband and come in and have a great time. Lots of vendors, lots of food vendors. It's going down February 23rd, 24th, 25th in Conroe, Texas. Come on out, and it's a great time. One of the best and biggest truck shows in the country for our scene, certainly, whether it's classics, lifted, lowered, minis, you name it. They're there, LoneStarThrowdown.com for more information. Now, when we try to call Mike later, there might be some helicopter in the background again because I'm hearing he's having to get airlifted out of the Burning Man. He had the Mazda just getting sideways, rooster tailing. I heard Hank's got photos, so I'm trying to get my hands on some more of those. So we'll try to get the trivia with Mike a little bit later. Next, we got ODB Live and Uncut. And this one really ties into what I just kind of was saying about Lone Star Throwdown. Something that I thought was pretty cool is Brant over at Graphic Disorder. He had posted, they had printed the shirt somewhere at this show. There's a little kid that wants to be just like you someday. You owe it to them to be the best you can be, ! So that message that LST has coined is pretty cool to see Brant put that on a shirt, or, Lone Star want to put that on a shirt. Other shows have asked, and they have been able to display that message at their show as well. I think it's a great message. And when you listen to Jackson and you listen to Jordan a little bit later, that message I think is important because we play a big role in trying to kind of shape a little bit of what the next generation is going to be like. And a lot of them look up to us. You'll hear Jackson talk a little bit about, man, he thinks the old days, looking at the old VHS stuff, was a little bit more fun and things like that. But there's no doubt the scene's on the rise. It's something that I think is really great is you're seeing this resurgence of the old school vibes and whatnot, and hopefully that'll continue to bring back the camaraderie that we've seen over all these years. That term, thicker than a sticker, I think runs deep in many crews, different shows. You'll hear Craig Braid talk a little bit about that, how that ties into the show that they just had. So my message this week is just get out there and try to reinforce positivity to the young kinfolk and show them the way. Certainly, we got a little bit crazy when we were younger. I know some of us did. So we gotta keep on keeping on and really presenting ourselves in a positive way at these shows, in my opinion. ODB Live and Uncut, brought to you by our kinfolk Joey at Get Decked. If you're a show promoter or you want to put artwork on a skate deck, certainly hit up Joey Dilworth at getdecked_VA, or you can Facebook message him, Joey Dilworth. Good people, and remember, he's ordering a lot of these skate decks at once to be able to keep up with demand. If you're looking to maybe get even 5, 10, 15, or whatever for next year, get with him now and let him know what you're going to need. That way he can write it down in his list and he can plan ahead. Next, we got the scene updates. Of course, a lot going on. I'm going to cover a decent amount. As always, I can't get to everything. If there's ever anything that you want me to cover, certainly send me an email, ourlifestylepodcast@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to get to those. Lucky from Canada. He was out there with the family, with his son, cruising in the Mazda Cab Plus. He says, keep on mini trucking, world's lowest NC. Love the truck, Lucky. Keep doing what you do. And shout out to the big homie. Chris Etchell. Got a chance to slap hands with him at the Spark Show. Chris says, well, here it is, folks. The moment I've been waiting for since 2000 when I purchased my truck from my dad. 23 years and my dream has come true. Shout out to Brandon Burrell. Shot this OBS extended cab, and it's on the cover of Straight Trucks Magazine, the issue that is coming out now. So pretty cool. Be on the lookout. Subscribe to Street Trucks Magazine if you can. Kevin Crouch says came to visit an old friend today and ended up taking an Icon on a cruise to a rod run in Maryland. Some days life is pretty great. Pretty awesome. He tags Thad, of course. They're cruising, 2 guys in Chicks Ride. I love it. Looking at the magazine. Rest in peace, Jen Lacey. And shout out to Jimmy and Shane for building such an amazing mini truck that continues to inspire people even to today. Next, shout out to Kevin Hart. Kevin says, I've done a random mini truck and compact, now full sizes, seen at various shows back in the day. Of course, Kevin's posted some pretty cool content in the Facebook group titled, I was in a mini truck / car club in the 80s and 90s. One of my favorite Facebook groups. So pretty cool stuff. He's dropping some gems. Speaking of Justin Wyatt, we got him up a little bit later, but he posted something on September 3rd mentioning that he remembers back in the day when Brandt and Team at Graphic Disorder, when they were producing renderings, and he still has his, of course, blue at the time, and it's pretty cool to see all the different iterations that his truck has been through. So, awesome stuff. Josh Pascal, he says, congrats to my brother Justin Santos on your full logo. Welcome to the family. Big ups for getting patched in, Justin, to Relaxed Atmosphere. Now, this one's one I don't really want to have to cover, but Matt Hodgson says, sadly, Project Boombox, my 88 4Runner, was rocked by a lady running a red light. Thank God everyone was okay, but I'm on the hunt again. Matt, of course, sold to Colorado, and now he's having this issue creep up. But it makes me want to have an episode in the future about, distracted driving and, this whole, drive your shit comment and things like that. I'm seeing a lot of people, unfortunately, getting these type of accidents. And we call it the A word for a reason, and it is an accident. But sometimes I wonder, is it distracted driving? Is it people texting and driving? Is it people just not paying attention? And maybe that's what happened with this lady. I don't know, of course. But certainly, number one, like he said, I'm glad everyone's okay. But you have to be diligent out there. Even if you're all eyes, all ears, stuff, as Matt points out, can still happen. So, again, I'm hopeful that he'll be able to move forward. But, we'll have to see how things pan out there. Those are a few items. The one other item I wanted to mention is, yes, Mini Truckin Magazine is back. If you go to Mini Truckin, Truckin mag, so minitruckinmag.net, okay? That is the new website. And I got to give a lot of thanks. I noticed this the other day. On the website, they've got an On the Rise section, and it says Jason Ballard is all about the scene. Check out what he's got going on here. So I don't know if that's a little Easter egg that they placed out there. I did find that egg. We'll have to see what it manifests into. Hopefully not a Jurassic Park type egg, cracking, you know what I mean? One of my favorite movies, by the way. But certainly, if you go out here, check out what they have for sale. They've got merch. They've got 3 new banners with different color variations of the new Mini Truckin Magazine logo. So more to come on that, but certainly love what they're doing in social media. They're really showing a lot of people love. They're not staying in one particular corner. They're resharing a lot of stuff. They're collaborating with people, and I love seeing that. So minitruckinmag.net. Hit them up. The scene update's brought to you by Garage Gear Clothing. Visit garagegearclothing.com to buy your merch. Remember, the holidays are coming up, and they do have free option. They have a free option for shipping, free shipping, if you hit a certain threshold. Whether you want the ladies, the babies, you want the sport trucks, the minis, the full sizes, the patinas, you name it. GarageGearClothing.com has got it. Hit them up. Let them know that OLP sent you by adding OLP into your order notes. Next, we got the industry news. And this is kind of crazy. Hollywood has been striking. No sooner, about a week ago, Spectrum and Disney are having a big beef. Now I don't have Disney Channel. Who cares about that? Now I don't have, oh, by the way, ESPN falls into that. So I'm a little frustrated there. I mean, MNF, Monday Night Football. How am I going to watch that? I know Jason Weiss is over there doing the damn thing, getting the OLP Fantasy Football League going. Mike hasn't even been giving him shout-outs. He's got an award ready to rock and roll. I'm just ready to watch. Hopefully my Packers take down the Bears this weekend. But certainly the whole Spectrum Disney thing's frustrating. But I say all that because the UAW, which is the United Auto Workers union, they had warned Wednesday that the union plans to go on strike against any Detroit automaker that hasn't reached a new agreement by the time the contract expires next week. Long story short, bottom line, I don't think we can afford for this to happen. Things have kind of gotten back on track, in my opinion, since the whole COVID craziness. And, maybe this is going to help secure the deal. We saw UPS recently. That happened where things worked out. Don't be mad. UPS is hiring, like Biggie said, right? Shout out to Eric Felber and all the team out there, all you guys out there delivering and ladies. But just know that we'll have to see what happens. I don't stress over this kind of stuff. Now, granted, the Disney thing is a little frustrating because I'm like, okay, now it's directly impacting me. But typically, sometimes these guys play hardball. They got to do what they got to do. And all I know is that the automakers out there make some pretty cool stuff, although I don't like all their designs. And they pay their employees pretty well, and hopefully they'll be able to work out those agreements and to iron stuff out for the future. We'll just leave it at that. The industry news is brought to you by our family at AccuAir, AccuAir.com. That's AccuAir.com. If you want a plug-and-play application, maybe you want the E-Level, maybe you want the E-Level Plus, AccuAir.com. You can even submit under the AccuAir Life, you can submit your vehicle to potentially be featured right on their social media. So check them out. They're good people, and let them know that OLP sent you. By the way, you can buy AccuAir at all different kinds of vendors throughout the country, including CNS Metalworks. All right, next, we're moving right along. Going to keep the scope kind of limited here for the next 6 weeks for the show updates. So what we have is this weekend you have Static Nationals, which is kind of that 3-day event. You have Dropped and Destroyed, which is in Uniontown, Ohio. And then you have River Slam, which is in Chattanooga. So didn't get a chance to hit upon those three as much as I had hoped. But certainly about them if you've been listening or you've been on social media. I know Robbie and them have done a great job really getting a lot of traction with Static Nationals. The number one question is, do I have to be Static Drop to go to Static Nationals? The answer is no. Okay, it's just a cool name, but you can be bagged. Good people. Try to hit one of those shows this weekend if you can. Sparks in the Park is the following weekend. That is the 15th through the 17th. Of course, that's up in the Panhandle at the Mullet Festival grounds. Wishing them all the best. And that Sunday, the 17th of September, that is also Trucks and Cheeseburger Picnic. That's on Instagram. That's on Facebook. That's technically down there in Boca Raton. So hit those guys up. And then last but not least, we have Fair Enough. That is the 30th into that weekend, that first weekend in October. Actually, we have Showdown in the Valley, which will be that next weekend, the 6th, 7th, and 8th. Then we have Cruising with Cruisers. We'll be up in Whitesburg, Kentucky, the 13th and 14th. And then the 20th and 21st is Last Resort. Of course, that's in Louisiana, put on by the KIK family. So that's the limited scope right now for the upcoming shows that we are tracking. The show updates are brought to you by our kinfolk at The Spark Show. Get ready for August 2024, thesparkshow.com for more information. I'm certainly looking forward to heading on up to the event next year, Lord willing, in Sevierville, Tennessee. Next, we got the podcast updates. We're moving right along. We have no new Apple podcast reviews, but certainly what I would tell you is if you're on an Apple device, please go to the pre-installed podcast app, search OLP or tap on Library, select OLP, and scroll down, tap the 5 stars. If you want to go a step further, write a review. If you want to leave your name or your Instagram handle, we'll shout you out in the future. Any 5-star review you can leave will help us out. Lastly, be on the lookout. We'll be dropping something very, very soon. Keep it posted to OLP. Turn on post notifications if you can. And just know we got something cool in the works. Podcast updates brought to you by Graphics with an X, Graphics Mafia. Hit up Buddy and team if you need any decals or stickers, maybe some light design work, even wraps. He can take care of you. Graphics with an X Mafia. Airheadnation.com. Last but not least, we got the Airhead Nation updates, and I kind of felt like I got through this a little quicker. Main reason being is I recorded this whole segment only to realize the file did not save. So instead of getting frustrated, it's like, keep on keeping on. That's all you could do, right? But Jeff Rosenberger, shout out to the big homie from Mini Garage. I know he had posted on Facebook on August 30th that he was out of surgery. He was in recovery. I know he's had some health things going on. I know he's going to be okay. Send some good vibes his way. I chatted with him via text just today, and I know, again, he's got a lot going on. He's going to be resting up some, but any positive vibes we can send. Also, if you need Datsun or Mazda parts, hit up Jeff Rosenberger, Berger, and he's also at Mini Garage. You can send him a direct message. He sells on eBay. He sells directly to folks. So certainly hit up Jeff, Geoff, Rosenberger, Mini Garage. Good people. Best of luck to you, homie. I know you got this. Speaking of that, shout out to Ruben. I know Ruben's got a lot going on as well. I'm going to leave it at that. The Booka, hope you're doing good, homie. Stay on the rise, and you'll be fine. Lastly, looking ahead at the calendar, let's not forget that Monday is 9/11. So back in 2001, one of the most horrific things in our country's history happened. I certainly think a lot about those people that lost their lives that day on what we now refer to as Patriots Day, and all of the men and women that had to be deployed to go do what they had to do. My brother-in-law was one of those people. He was deployed a couple of times to Afghanistan, and he was able to make it back. A lot of people didn't. There were, of course, a lot of civilians killed as well with those tragic events. So on 9/11, I highly encourage everyone, take a moment, think about those people. Take it a step further. I tell people all the time, 9/11 Memorial on Instagram is a great Instagram account to follow. They share a lot of touching stories about the people that lost their lives that day. So on Patriots Day, we salute the ones we lost and the ones that we lost, of course, in battle as well. With that being said, the Airhead Nation updates brought to you by our kinfolk at CNS Metalworks. If you go on Facebook and type in C and S Metalworks, you can use an ampersand or the word A&D. It's going to pull up CNS Metalworks Metal Fabricator. You can send them a direct message. You can also find them on Instagram or c-smetalworks.com on their website if you need universal air, AccuAir, airbags. Maybe you want to bag your ride. Get with Chris and team. Ruben, of course, works there as well. They're good people. They built SEMA rides. They built lowriders, mini trucks. C&S Metalworks with an S.com. Good people. All right, so now we got to try to get Miggity Mike the Mayor on the phone to see if he's getting helicoptered out of Burning Man. We got Jackson coming up, Rodell. Of course, we got Craig Braid, Justin Wyatt, Jordan Espinoza. It's a jam-packed episode, y'all. Stay on the rise, and thank you for all the support. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. It's free. A lot more coming there. ODB, rest in peace to those we lost on September 11th. Biaggi.
I'm here. Are you there?
Dude, I hear the chopper in the background. Listen, we've got the intel that you're stuck out at Burning Man. Did you get helicoptered out of there, or what's? I mean, dude, everybody's asking me. There's a photo of you, rooster tail in mud, and apparently you've been out there without food or water. Is Hank getting a helicopter, Magnum PI somehow? What's the deal?
Well, Hank actually came out and rescued me in the helicopter. And it wasn't just any helicopter. He stole a fucking Army Apache helicopter, bro. And he swooped down. I jumped. You remember that scene back in the day? The Arnold Schwarzenegger. No. The Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where.
Commando.
Oh, man. No, it wasn't Commando.
True Lies?
Man. True Lies. Yes.
Yeah, that was. Yep.
Yes. And where he grabbed what's her name's arm, and it was a perfect boob shot, bro. Dude. I loved it. That was like boom. And so, anyways, Hank hung out his arm, and at first I was a little afraid to grab his arm because I've seen that arm fall off one too many times.
Right.
After an all night drinking.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. and I know he doesn't wash his hands, so I was a little wary of grabbing his hand, but dude grabbed his hand, he pulled me in, and dude, we flew away. Now I did leave banana hammock there, so hopefully hopefully it makes it back home. I put a reward out for whoever brings it back for me, but other than that, I made it out alive, and that's all that matters.
Dude, that guy Diplo, the DJ, he posted a video where he was riding the back of a truck and Chris Rock got picked up, and I swore I saw the helicopter in the background with you dangling. I think that was you and Chris Rock. All these other bigwigs were out there. So then that reminded me why you were out there, because Eastbound Get Down is on the rise, and I figured you were out there hobnobbing with all the bigwigs.
Yes. No, Eastbound Get Down is teamed up with OLP and ODB, and dude, he's been making videos for us, and dude, you've been absolutely killing it. So definitely appreciate the love and appreciate the support. And dude, the video you posted up of Big John's Escalade out there, fucking an inch off the ground. I mean, Jesus Christ, man, is that thing not a beauty of motion? I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, no doubt. And I told John, I said, look, I hate to throw Mike under the bus, but it's like I said, you should be charging him money to even hang. I mean, Mike, for us just to hang around John, he should be charging us. You know what I mean? Because like he wouldn't usually hang out with someone like us.
Well, bro, why do you think I have to pay for everything? Everywhere we go, I have to pay for it. You got a
built-in bodyguard, dude.
I'm hanging out with fucking royalty over there, bro.
Yeah, we're trying to get to that level.
I would think by now that he would have some freebies, coming his way. But for some reason, I'm always stuck with the bill.
Listen, we only got a short segment we got to do, but I want to get down, dude. There's a big controversy going on. Not the Burning Man thing. I know the truck's out there. We're going to have to try to get it flown back. I saw you rooster tailing. You had a smile. That's all that matters, is you're having fun. But here's the controversy. I thought when 9-1 came, something about EBGD was going to be a pre-registration, and then I'm hearing it got pushed back because of budgetary concerns. What really is the deal? Was it the gallivanting to Burning Man, or what happened there? I mean, can people pre-register for Eastbound Get Down?
Yes, people can pre-register for Eastbound Get Down starting this Friday, which is 9/8 at noon. The website will be live 9/8 Friday. When you're listening to this podcast, you can go to I was about to say EBGB. You can go to eastboundgetdownshow.com and you can pre-register right there.
Dude, Eastbound Get Down Show. And one thing that I want people to know is that with this event, Mike, it's at Destination Daytona. And here's something that you dropped on me recently. You can get the nice shaded parking under the big covered area, right? A little bit more secure. Or you can you can pick the different colors. I mean, dude, you don't care if it's Bloods, Crips, or you don't care, right?
Well, we did change that up a little bit, because we had the red parking section and we had the blue parking section. And obviously ODB smart to me. He learned to me, and he's like, bro, you're going to have the Bloods and the Crips, bro. You better change that up.
Yep.
So we changed it to the red and the purple sections. So we did change that up. So yeah, you can pick. We upcharged a little bit on the red section, more than the purple section. But at the same time, that's where everybody wants to park, is in the freaking red section. So we're trying to accommodate as many people as possible, but basically at the end of the day, it's going to be first come, first serve. So if you want to park over on the red side, the red side with over by the pavilion, around the pavilion, then make sure you get that pre-registration in. I want to say there's 200 spots over on the red side that are going to be available, and there's going to be 200 spots over in the purple side. Other than the pavilion, we have 65 spots underneath the pavilion that you can pre-register for, and then we have some reserved parking spots for some of the clubs that they paid that extra coin to reserve their areas. The NC and the Aftermath and Sunset and Ground Zero.
Yeah, Mike,
So-
and I was telling everyone earlier, on this episode, we're going to have Jackson Rodell, Craig Braid, Justin Wyatt, and Jordan Espinoza. But, dude, one of those names jumps out, Justin Wyatt. I know his truck is on some of the artwork that you guys have. My understanding is he's going to be gallivanting down possibly to Destination Daytona in January?
Yes, he will. This is going to be the first time you're going to see, Mr. Justin Wyatt in Florida. So he has never been to a show in Florida, so this is his first one, and we are pleased to have Mr. Wyatt come out to Eastbound Get Down. Yes, he will be there.
And you're happy as EBGD to kind of pop that cherry, right? I mean, because you guys are getting people to come in from all. I mean, Thad came from Pennsylvania last year. I mean, let's be honest. We've been going to shows a long time,
That's funny you bring up Thad's name because Mr. Thad will be making a return back to Eastbound Get Down next year. He's going to be doing another deck, because we do the deck for dogs. He's going to be doing another deck for us again, and he's going to be bringing a surprise back to Florida. That truck started in Florida and actually right around that Daytona area. So he'll be bringing a nice surprise with him.
I think I know what that is. We'll have to get Jimmy and Shane out there to really, to take a good photo. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, dude, that would be sweet.
Now, listen, Mike, the cool thing about EBGD is going to be, it's in football season, and a lot of mini truckers don't care about football. I would just tell people, come on down. You are the next contestant at Eastbound Get Down. And I know Justin wants to go top rope some guys. He's talking about have the ring ready. I said, look, we got to check the insurance. I'm not paying the bills, so I don't want to overstep. But just know, like Mike said, eastboundgetdownshow.com. You can pre-register. Come on down. You guys will have a great time. Now, Mike, we only got one thing we got to knock out because I know you're still flying back. I hear the chopper going. You're still flying back from Nevada. The one question I got is, are you ready?
Now it's time to get serious.
Man, I'm always ready to get this answer wrong, so let's do this.
So check this out, man. I talked a little bit earlier in the episode about, unfortunately, we lost Bob Barker. Born in 1923, almost made it to his 100th born day. Always helped control the pet population, right? Always talked about that. But this one's going to be an easy one maybe for some people. Mike, might be tough for you. I know you grew up in the 80s. All you got to do is name any two games that were on the Price is Right TV show. Any two games.
Well, the easiest game and that I'll never forget and always remember because it was my favorite one was Plinko.
Yes, dude. Those old people, dude, they jumped up and they started, bro. They would go freaking, dude. That was like, like you're used to going to the club on like a Friday, and your favorite kind of, what do they call them, actresses or performers comes out, and like you really start getting kind of a little piped up. That's the way those old people do. They say the P word, and dude, they started going ballistic, dude.
Yes. So that right there was by far my favorite game.
Me too.
And then. Man, I can remember all the games. I can describe all the games. But I'm not gonna lie, man.
We'll give you a credit. I'm gonna give you the tick mark if you can describe one that I know.
Oh, bro. Well, remember the coal miner where you had to guess the price of the game, and then he went up the mountain, and then if he fell over the side, then you lost.
Dude, I love that one, dude. The music was what really put me over on that one.
That was one of my all-time favorites there as well. And then how can you forget the golf one, man, where you had to putt the ball and however far you got, and if you made it hole in one.
Or wait, Mike, or what? Or what happens if you missed it? A hole in one, and then he hits the button and it spins. Yes, and he spins it around. Dude, we miss Josh Miller. Remember back in the day, he said that he wanted us to walk around the shows with the Bob Barker microphone, with the long slim, kind of the Virginia Slim deal. You know what I mean?
Yes, he did.
I could see us gallivanting around a show with maybe EBGD, Eastbound Get Down.
Hey.
We could,
I think we can make this happen.
And we'll have the putting green there. I remember like a switcheroo. There was Pass the Buck. I mean, I don't remember all the names, but Hole in One or Two was my favorite, as well as Plinko. And rest in peace, Bob Barker, dude. He was a true legend, and he did help control the pet population, just kind of like you guys are, dogs and Eastbound and Get Down. I know you're really doing a lot of good things, Mike.
Yes,
and Shannon and Kim, let's be honest, Shannon and Kim are running that.
Hey, Shannon and Kim are the main people behind this all, and we can't say otherwise, because that is definitely the case.
Well, Mike, listen, we hear the helicopter kind of going, getting a little crazy over there. You got any last words? Because I know, dude, the Mazda's stuck. We may never see it again, but I know you had a good time,
man. I always have a good time. I definitely appreciate you reaching out and calling. Brother, man, all I got to say is guys, please be ready for Friday. Promise it's coming this time. Eastbound Get Down pre-registration, eastboundgetdownshow.com. Try this Friday at noon and get those pre-registrations in, especially if you want to park in that red section. As soon as that's sold out, then that's done. Then we'll have the general parking, which is the purple section. And then, of course, we got tons of room out in the stereo portion as well. Pavilion parking, once that's sold out and it's full, it's full. So, guys, look forward to seeing you guys next year, in January. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Everybody have a great weekend. And hey, Airhead Nation, we out.
From gallivanting man to burning man, he does it all. All right, everyone stay tuned for Jackson Rodell. Let's do this. Hey, so as I said, we're going to start with Jackson Rodell. And Jackson, just wanted to say, hey, thanks for sitting down for a minute. We're trying to get some younger kinfolk on, and certainly we see you out there hustling, man.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, Jackson Rodell. It's a Rodell, RODELL_Jackson. So, I mean, high level, real quick, to jump into it, like your dad has been doing this. I know he's going to feel old, but we've been doing this like 25 plus years. He's been doing it longer than I have. Have you fallen in love and gotten bit by the bug in terms of the truck scene?
Basically, I like the older truck scene.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really how it is nowadays.
Yep. I saw your dad made a comment the other day when some of these old VHS stuff was popping up, and that's what made me think to reach out to you. Is it pretty cool watching the old stuff, seeing how far things have come?
Yeah, I love it. I don't know if they came very far. I feel like the older stuff's cooler.
Yeah, it is
There's
weird.
Just more of it, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird how the nostalgia goes.
Yeah.
Now, talk to us briefly about your truck. What truck are you rocking out there?
It's a 1995 Isuzu pickup.
Dude.
Bagged and body dropped.
That's good stuff. When we were younger, one of the big challenges that we had is, you have to have a friend or someone that can do the type of work. How awesome is it knowing that your dad had a shop and that he can do all this kind of stuff and teach you?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
A lot of it I do now at work.
Oh, do you?
I do for a living now.
Now, what do you do right now?
I work at B&C Off-Road.
Okay.
We build custom lift kits for trucks.
Nice. Okay, so you're kind of learning some of the trade, but you're able to work on your hobby stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
Now, have you been to any shows? Like, is there one show so far that you've been to that's like your favorite?
I haven't been to a bunch of shows. Like, LST is probably my favorite because everybody's there.
Yep.
And there's so many trucks, but there's a bunch that I want to go to.
Yeah.
Like Camp and Drag and all that.
Yeah, and you're still kind of young and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, and I didn't mean to stop you there. So I know there's not a lot. There's a good amount, but Texas is a big state. What are some of the other shows that you could possibly make it to that are close to you, you think?
We went to Slamboree last year. That was pretty good.
Oh, yeah,
Hit that. We'll probably hit that again.
Yeah.
I want to do like Last Resort and all that. It's kind of close.
Yep. Stewart and the KIK family, they're good people,
Yeah.
Yep. Now, do you look back at some of your dad's old stuff, in terms of photos? Your dad has a lot of kind of a rich history in the truck scene, and does it bring a smile to your face knowing how much he accomplished, in all the years he's been doing things?
Oh, yeah. I look at pictures all the time of his old stuff.
Yeah.
He's got photo books everywhere in the garage.
Yeah, he kind of blew my mind, knowing that, Lomigo was crisscrossing the country even before it was painted and then it was on the cover. 25 years ago. To me, though, and I'm sure some of the listeners, we always appreciate like a younger guy like you that is interested in it, because you probably have heard this. I don't know that it's a fact, but it does seem a little bit like not all younger kids are into cars like we were, like your dad and I were back like when we were younger. So to me, it's pretty awesome that you're into it.
Yeah, it's definitely not as big as it was back in the day, I feel like. Mm-hmm. But it's still pretty big.
Yep.
Not for low stuff as much, around here at least, I guess. Like all the car meets, they're filled up with regular Dodges, Chargers, and Hellcats or whatever. No, I don't like seeing that. I like seeing low stuff.
Yeah, buddy, man, 2 thumbs up for Jackson. That's an interesting point, because I think when people see mini nats, they go, "Wow, the scene is bigger and badder than it's ever been." And I think when you control everything and you bring, what I mean by that is when you bring everybody to to an event. There's thousands of mini truckers and stuff like that, but I think to your point, when we were younger, we would see stuff cruising around. Now the stuff that's cruising around with the younger kids, like you said, is a lot different. So, yeah, for sure. Now, your dad being in the club for so long, NC, naturally, you're going to kind of roll up under those guys and roll with them a little bit?
Yeah, I guess, kind of. They kind of took me under their wing, I guess.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Now, being that you have an Isuzu, is there any magazine or any photo or any truck that you've seen that kind of inspires you? Or are you just like, hey, man, I'm just going to inspire myself and do my own thing?
There's a lot of trucks that inspire me. I like kind of like simple graphics along the bottom and all that, because I like driving it. I don't want to have to fix all them graphics with rock chips.
There you go.
But like one of the trucks Radar's truck is definitely one of my favorites. The orange Zuzu.
Yep. Nah, that's cool, man.
There's another one that was cool. I think he just posted it not too long ago. Is it Wet Dreams? I think it's called.
Yeah.
That truck's cool.
That was cool. Yeah, there was as you know, probably the old NC guy up in Michigan. Jake had that one, and it's pretty cool. Do you foresee yourself, like, I kind of get the vibe that you're in this. I mean, this is going to be something that, you're obviously working in the industry to a certain extent now. You've kind of fallen into the mini truck scene. I kind of see you in it for the long haul, Jackson.
Yeah, probably. I'm probably in it for life.
I know, right? That's good stuff. And the other cool thing that I've always been interested in is there's like a lot of history there with NC and some of the old trendsetter guys with like Smiley and Radar and Lonnie. So certainly you're going to be around a good group of kinfolk, to help bring you up in the scene.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I'm going to ask this question a little bit later to No Regrets Jordan, but I wanted to ask you kind of before we close it down here, and I'll see if there's anything else you want to say, but is there any advice that you would give? Like, let's say there was someone a little bit younger than yourself, right? That's like, I kind of want to get in the scene, but I went to a show and nobody was talking to me or whatever. Do you have any advice for someone that might be younger than you?
Yeah, just buy the truck and build it however you want. Take it wherever you want. I like seeing trucks driving around more than I like seeing them at the shows, to be quite honest.
Look at that. True words there, spoken from Rodell. Jackson Rodell. That's good stuff. Do you want to give any shout-outs or kind of say anything else before we wrap it up? I want to try to get some younger kinfolk on, and that's what we're doing here, Jackson.
Yeah, kid Caden Johnson, he's got another Isuzu. It's pretty cool.
Cool.
He's around my age.
Yep. Now, do you mind me asking, how old are you?
20. I just turned 20 last weekend.
Oh, dude, happy born day.
Thank you.
Dude, you're not even, like you're out there living it, and you haven't even hit 21, and that's what I love, because we often tell people on the podcast, as you probably know, is, you got to get out there, you got to live your dreams. Like you said, get the truck, build it, do what you want to do, but certainly you're showing people, hey, you're learning, and you're doing it, and you're having fun.
I'm definitely having fun with it.
I love hearing it, man. Rodell _Jackson, the lineage from Rob Rodell, and certainly we appreciate you taking a few minutes, Jackson, and any last words?
I'm good.
All right, brother. Hey, we can't wait to see you at Lone Star Throwdown 2024 next year. It's sold out, and we'll like to slap hands with you, man.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, Jackson.
Yes, sir.
Hey, so part of the scene updates this week is obviously the shows that are going down. It's the summer, and what better show to talk about to kind of do a mini wrap-up, Summer Slam by Sittin Pretti. We got Craig Braid back in the cut. Craig, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Jason?
I am great. I'm so stoked to see that Sittin Pretti's back, and the club has never went anywhere. I want to talk about that. But you guys really made a huge effort to say, you know what, we want to get back in the mix. We had a show before. Talk to us a little bit about Summer Slam on some of the things you want to share that happened last about a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago.
It was our 21st show. We had a wonderful turnout. Weather was good and brought out some OG rides that haven't been out in 10 years. Devin, he brought out Masbury, and last time that show was out was 10 years ago at our last Summer Slam.
That's so awesome, isn't it? And I did not realize technically that the last show that it went to was Summer Slam. So you talk about, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. That's pretty cool. But I think there was a number that you shared that I want to reinforce to people, or that I want you to. When you say Sittin Pretti's back, you said, I want to make sure I heard you right, the 21st show for that club.
Yeah, 21st show. And
that's fantastic. Now, you got to think about this, right? So I know there's been some long-term members in there. There's been some guys and ladies right in every club that kind of life gets in the way. They decide to go a little bit, different route. They may not be kind of in the club, but it had to have been a good feeling, whether you're a new school guy in that chapter or that club rather, or someone that maybe has been in for 30 plus years. Did you find that you had some helping hands from all levels and kind of within the club?
Yeah, first off, Danny, his Mazda on our artwork, he's been in the club since 92. He's been around the whole time, and that was great. And then we had about 5-6 OG guys they were in the club in the 80s and 90s. They came out to help us or as a spectator. And then Kevin, he brought out his hard body that he's had forever with a tilt bed and very clean undercarriage.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you and Matt Pigrig, shout out to both of you because you shared a lot of photos. We shared OG Kevin's, as we know him as, the Nissan hardbody, which was super cool. You mentioned the yellow Mazda, which my understanding, you've really schooled me on a lot of the history in that region, the Pacific Northwest, we'll call it. Of course, the yellow Mazda being really line in the sand, first body dropped mini up that way. I think Gendro's hands were in it. It had to have been a good feeling, right, to see the mix of the resurgence of some of the old school guys and ladies. Did you feel like maybe that was a little bit of fuel to the fire to get some of these guys kind of motivated again, maybe to maybe want to get out even more if they can?
Yeah, absolutely. Just stir the fire and get going. And I saw one post from a guy up in British Columbia, he's already working on his Mazda for next year, trying to make it better than it was.
Dude, that's great. Now, I want to give a tip of the cap to two guys. One you mentioned was Devin. He's been on before. Ruben really helped get him on, so I want to shout out to Ruben the Booka. Devin, he went above and beyond. I know he had a challenge with the tow rig. His truck, as you mentioned, had been kind of stowed away for a while, the Mazda. But then also Lucky. Huge shout out. I chat with Lucky here and there through text. Good dude. He also, both of them had like a border crossing kind of in their field of view that they had to deal with, right? And that's not always, you don't have to go into all the details, but my understanding is that's not always super easy.
No, it's not. And it's just the personality and the attitude of the border agent you run into at the moment. And that agent felt like he was going to come down here and sell the trucks. And if you sell a vehicle come across the border, it needs an inspection and it needs a bunch of paperwork. And they felt he was going to sell it. And he's like, look, this is a show I'm going to. This is where I'm staying. And they still were, nope, you're not coming.
Yeah, I heard Lucky had like a trench coat, and when he opened it, It was not what Hank was thinking, but it was basically, he goes, look, you see all these cars? I'm a shot caller, 20-inch baller. You know what I mean? That whole, dude, I was like, come on, man. This guy's balling out. He ain't going to sell anything. If he's like me, he's going to hoard some more stuff.
Yeah, he has quite the collection.
I love it. I love it, dude. But tip of the cap, Lucky. Love you, man. Good dude. But let's talk about this, the show itself, right? So a little bit, enough of my gallivanting there. When we think of the show, talk to us a little bit about some of the things you want to share. I know there was a couple of key sponsors, and then maybe did you get more than you expected in terms of showgoers?
Yeah, my goal was shooting for like 150 show entries, and we hit 178. So,
good.
You know, the day of, I told the venue that they asked me how many cars. I'm like, I'm thinking 150 to 200, and at 178, 179, we were right in there.
Excellent.
But you know, a couple weeks prior, I'm like, okay, because you know, you never know what the weather might be, and that can really hurt the numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. The venue itself seemed like it worked out really well. And my understanding, though, you also had a few key sponsors. Anybody you want to shout out there?
Yeah, the venue, they were great sponsoring us, and then Les Schwab Tire Centers, they jumped right on board, helping us out, and then Creative Minds, and then actually all the clubs in the Northwest chipped in, helping us where they could, whether it was raffle prizes or just support with a hand here and here, loaning us a golf cart, helping set up garbage cans, whatever. The whole Northwest, all the clubs pulled together and helped us in some way. Relaxed Atmosphere, Perfect Poise, Twisted Creations, Class Act, Mini Garage Jeff, he gave us some shirts, and Magical Minis, if I will, ask that Toyota, he gave us some raffle prizes.
Excellent. Yeah, that really brings, I don't know who quoted this. It's one of those quotes that's like, it's like unanimous, anonymous, I think, but thicker than a sticker, right? You brought that up before we started. That really reinforces in that Pacific Northwest region of the country, that whole mini truck genre and the club guys and ladies and stuff. I mean, really, they live that thicker than a sticker.
Absolutely. Well, there's we're a small group up here, so I think we all have to stick together and help us all succeed.
Yeah, I love it. Now, hey, I'm itching over here for another truck. I mean, maybe you can kind of put a good word in. I'd love to buy that yellow Mazda, though, man. That thing is like that 90s vibe, dude. I love it. And it was cool to see it out there.
Yeah, and another truck, and shout out to Chris with his purple S10. He came from Vancouver Island as well. And, I mean, that truck is so nice.
Yeah, very cool. Now, between the photos that you and Matt Weathers had sent, I mean, there was so much stuff there. You know, I know Severed came, Patrick came from all the way from, I think technically he lives in SoCal. You had some Datsuns there. You had a full chassis that was laid out. I mean, you had rows of really cool stuff, a Camaro, a Jeep, things that it was kind of an eclectic mix. Oh, by the way, you had some awesome bikes that we love to see. But you've got one of your club mates, Matt. I know he is hardcore into the bikes. I met the homie before. He had a nice little setup, too, with the Nissan.
Oh, yeah. Nissan with his elf bike in the bed. And then, I don't know how many bikes he had, 10 or so.
Yep. He had 10 or so bikes out there. That's what I counted. And I loved seeing that. I know Aftermath came out there, too. They had the purple S10. And it was cool. That had got a lot of views on social media. They really dig in the interior on that thing, which was super cool. Do you being in the scene as long as you have been, Craig, and becoming friends with us, and we appreciate your friendship, do you foresee like a show like this, right? You guys took a little bit of hiatus, right? Because life is the most important thing. But you come back and then, you sweat all these bullets and you go, okay, man, we pulled the nose of the plane. We got right where we need to be. But do you guys come back in 2024? What's the vision that you guys have right now?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
August 24th, 2024, same location. And we'll go from there.
Yep. Now, I wanted to ask you this. Something that I saw that came up, and you and I never got a chance to talk about this, and I don't know how close this is to you, but they sometimes the Radwood stuff happens. And my understanding was I'm friends with Nick now over at Griot's Garage, thanks to my buddy Joey linking me up with him. Love their products, by the way. But Griot's ended up having some sort of event. Do you think that, like, next year, if they don't have that event, you end up peeling some of those people? Or was that maybe not the crowd of a typical mini truck show?
It might have, because like you said earlier, we had a variety. So, and we opened our show up to everything. We had a really nice Thunderbird here at the show that was a big contender for best paint.
Wow.
And, opened it up to everything. There's a nice Scout here, but yeah, and that Griot's Rad show, it was about, 45 minutes, an hour away. So yeah, some of those people might have came up here.
Yep. So we got to, you guys and the team will push the next 12 months and try to spread the word. We'll do the same for you. I do want to reinforce this, and you mentioned it earlier, but were there maybe some faces that, because I know this, I believe, if my calculations are correct, like Doc Brown said, my calculations are correct, you're going to see some serious, the S word. But if my calculations are correct, you guys aren't going like 30 years in the future. Your club has been around for 30 plus years, and you probably saw, I'm hoping, some faces that you hadn't seen in a long time, maybe in the club. Did you feel like you had some old school guys come out and help?
Oh, yeah. John Weiss, a guy from the 80s, he was out here, and yeah, about 6 guys from the 80s and early 90s came out. And actually, a couple of our clubs that are no longer around. Lo and behold, they had a couple of members out here wandering around. But yeah, we definitely brought out some people from the early 90s and 80s to come check out the show.
Yeah, if your last name is Weiss and you're not from the 80s, then there's an issue. You know what I mean? Like when you said that, I was like, okay.
Right?
No, but I know that you did hit upon that earlier, but I did want to reinforce it. I think that's pretty cool. Now, if you can reinforce Sittin Pretti, so Sittin Pretti, that club started back in circa what year?
1989. So next year is our 35th anniversary.
Dude, that's fantastic. And that predates some of the biggest clubs out there. And obviously none of us do it for, well, that's what she said. I got to say that before I even say this. None of us do it for the size, right, of the club or the award or anything like that. But in all, in all seriousness, it's cool to me to see people like yourself, and obviously you've been very clear with me. You go, yo, Jay, I wasn't in day one, right? But you had the early, the innovators that kind of got it started. You've had a lot of people carry it on, and I think that's great. Now, one of your near and dear friends, I posted about it before. You've reminded me, and I've added Chad to one of the calendars, and that always pops up for me each year. I know it's tough that your buddy wasn't there, but my understanding, though, his parents are helping carry on the legacy. They were there as well, helping. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're in the club. They're part of it. His Tacoma was on our artwork behind Danny's Mazda, and it was right up front here at the show.
Dude, and that had to just been a good feeling, again, them knowing they're carrying on their son's legacy. And I think you told me this before, they still own the truck?
Yeah, they own the truck.
Cool. And like you said, you paid homage to him through that artwork, which I thought was great. And oh, by the way, show promoters out there, I often love how these different shows throughout the country, they have a thought process. They don't just, pick a truck or a car. Every club has their own little thing, but how you guys pulled together some of the lineage there back, to use one of Ronnie's words, into the current, I thought was fantastic because there's that rich history up there. But oh, by the way, I do want to give you a shout out because, keep me honest, Graphic Disorder, they did your artwork?
Yes, they did, and I was very happy with the artwork.
Yeah, Brant and Shelly, their team is great, and I tell people all the time, if you're a show promoter or you need some artwork and you want to go next level, this new year's coming up and you go, I want to start fresh, email Graphic Disorder now because their waiting list is very long. It continues to grow because all of these shows are getting on board. But Craig, you and I both know the importance of, if you don't have that artwork, you may not sell as many shirts, right? You may not sell as many skate decks or whatever you're selling. And that plays such a huge part, I believe, too, to also rope people in to go, wow, this looks pretty cool. These guys aren't just doing some, old school 1992, sketches.
Yeah, I think that artwork helps a lot. And T-shirt orders, that was hard to estimate how many T-shirts to order. We sold out right away.
Wow.
Because it was such a nice design. So next year we're gonna order more skate decks and more shirts and banners.
Yeah, that's cool. And Brant, there you go. If you need a spokesperson or an official comment, there you go from Craig. He reinforces it right there. Boom. If the old saying, if you build it, they will come, and that's what happened. You built some sick artwork, this cool concept. Oh, by the way, old school, new school, and boom, it's sold. But Craig, any other kind of shout outs you want to give to any of the sponsors or anything else that we need to cover before we wrap it up?
Just that all the sponsors, whether it's big or small, it all plays a role in helping us make this a successful event. Yeah,
and I'll be sharing some of the photos. I want to give a huge shout out to Corey. I believe I'm saying it right. Sauer. I always mess it up. Sorry, Corey. I got to get him on, by the way. Old school guy from up that way, knows his history. He shared a bunch of photos on Facebook. He shared them into the I Was in a Mini Truck Club in the 80s and 90s group, and it was so cool to see. I felt like I was there seeing the Kuwahara bikes, the micro cab, or the Mazda cab pluses, the vans, the old school Ford Patinas. A lot to see. If you're in the vicinity or you're traveling next summer, plan if you can. It's a one-day show, so it doesn't take up your whole weekend. Sittin, Sittin, Pretti, Pretti, Summer Slam, on Instagram, on Facebook. Craig, give the best to everyone, and listen, I appreciate your hustle to help bring a show back to the show circuit, especially in a region that, in my opinion, definitely needs it. Great job.
Thank you, Jason.
Hey, so super excited to sit down with Justin Wyatt. And Justin, we're hearing some buzz about Fair Enough. That's coming up, one-day show on September 30th, I understand.
Yeah. We're going to do a pre-party on Friday night. We've got it approved by the city to shut down the road, do some cruising. So right in front of where the show is, so everybody can hang out and just kind of do their thing. And I think it's going to be really fun. I think this event's going to be something a little different than what I've done in the past.
Yeah, when I first saw the flyer, I thought of Greenville, right? So for those that are looking at the flyer, it's Greenville, green with an E at the end, so Greenville, Tennessee. And my understanding is with this event, you've made it very clear, like you really like many of us, these one-day events. Like you said, with the pre-party on Friday, you've got your show on Saturday. What should people know about either pre-registering or getting into the event on Saturday?
So our pre-registration is closed now. However, we will take cash or card at the gate. That's no problem. We prefer cash, just because it makes it a lot easier in the processing fees and everything. It's going to be it's 30 30 day of show. Sorry, I had to think about that for a minute.
Yep.
30 the day of show. Spectators, we're doing $5 now. That is actually, we're going to put that money. It goes towards the charity we're doing for our auction on, which is the BHP Foundation, and that's going to that's real quick story. Basically, what that boils down to is there is some parents from Greenville area. They had a son that was very passionate about cars, and he passed away. So they started this foundation in his honor to help give out scholarships every year. So they do multiple different stuff, and we wanted to help them to where they could help give out scholarships. And the thing is, with their scholarships, is you have to be going into a vocational trade. So they're wanting to see more kids get out there and work with their hands.
Nice. Yeah, and you've always done as much as you can in terms of the charitable contributions, and we love hearing that in the scene. Not every show can do that, but certainly when someone like yourself and your team, when you guys step up to do that, that's very commendable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's part of it. I mean, the thing is we're grown-ups now. Like 20 years ago, we were kids. We were those punk kids driving around in trucks that didn't make any sense to the older generation. And now I want to make sure that the community and the region that I live in, I care about it. and I'm more of a part of it than I was when I was 20 years old. And I want to make sure that when they see us out, that we're approachable and you're respectable, and we're just ordinary guys that just happen to like our trucks a little bit lower than everybody else.
You're right. Definitely. September 30th, 2023, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's Fair, F-A-I-R-E-N-U-F, Fair Enough. The artwork's very cool. Of course, you can see Graphic Disorder, kind of inspired, right? They do great work. I'm assuming they did the artwork for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric did a great job. Him and Kelly threw that together, and we just I always just kind of tell Eric, here's kind of what I'm looking at. Here's the truck. Do what you do. I don't have to give him many, different directions, because Eric always comes out on top and kills it with whatever he does.
Oh yeah. Talk to us. There's got to be a little bit of a spin on the name, right? Is there any little kind of anecdote that you can give us? Is that how you pronounce it? I always say that word wrong. But is there any little nugget that you can give us on the name? Like, how does that tie into the show?
Well, obviously it's at the Greenville County Fairgrounds, so fair, and we were trying to tie that in. And we actually have one of our big sponsors this year, outside of Direct Auto Reconditioning and Bachman Bernard, are our two main sponsors. That's our top ones. But we actually have Dr. Enuf, which is a East Tennessee drink, basically. You can't find it outside of our region. It is owned and bottled in Johnson City, Tennessee. And so it's Dr. Enuf, E-N-U-F. So that's kind of where the spin came off. We actually made the show name, and then after we came up with the name and agreed on it, we reached out to Dr. Enuf, and they jumped right on board.
Very cool. What a way to reel in a sponsor. I like it.
Absolutely. You got a wordplay.
Oh, yeah. Fair, F-A-I-R-E-N-U-F. They're on Instagram. They're on Facebook. You can find more information. Again, September 30th, 2023, 8 to 5. You also have the Friday night pre-party. One of the names that I see that sticks out on the flyer is Trashy Photography 22, which I believe that's Jennifer. That's the better half of Robbie, possibly?
Correct.
Yeah, right.
Correct.
So I got a chance to meet her at the Spark Show, and it's really cool. I would tell people, follow her page, Trashy, just how it sounds, Photography 22. It's pretty cool, I'm sure, for you to have a lot of different people like her come out, especially a female representing the scene.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, Jennifer's a really, really good person. Me and Robbie have been friends since he came back into the scene, and Robbie's a super good guy. We'll be at Static Nationals this weekend, hanging out with him and showing some support. And he's been real supportive of this event. It's cool because we're both in the same month and we're a couple weeks apart. And Robbie was totally, yeah, cool, man, no problem, man. That's not a problem at all. He wasn't upset about it. And that's the kind of friendships that you need in the scene. And, as far as, with the photographers and everything, I love it. And I can 100% tell you that Greenville, Tennessee, is going to offer a lot of great places to take shots of your vehicle. So clean it up. If you come in on Friday and you're looking for a little bit of time to kill, just hit a back road. You never know what you're going to run into. Old barns, old farms, awesome mountain views. I mean, there's no telling where you can find just to park your truck in the middle of the road and just take some shots.
Very cool. Well, we're excited to see some of the photos, and we know, putting your neck out there and doing an event is no easy task, and it's great to see, you kind of putting the flag in the ground and going, hey, I want to support this region of the country where you live and do the dang thing. Again, everyone, it's Fair Enough, E-N-U-F. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, Greenville, Tennessee. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap it up here?
If you want to know what vendors are going to be there, sponsors, anything like that, it's www.fairenuf, FAIRENUF.com. Obviously, I'm really stoked this year. I've got DJ Mays. That's a huge one. I've got DJ Mays on board. You can't go wrong. Anytime that you've got DJ Mays on board, you've got Graphic Disorder doing your artwork, and then you've got some really great sponsors and vendors coming out like Black Label Powder Coatings. They're the top in their what they do. They are the best. And he doesn't do shows, but he's always supported us. Anything I do, he always comes out and shows out. So it's awesome to see him do that.
Yep, good stuff. And I did talk with Mike a little bit ago. He, as I understand it, congratulations. I mean, again, on your truck being rebuilt into the current version. I love it. It was great to see it at Mini Nats. Of course, Mike mentioned with you being on the show artwork, he's pretty confident you're going to gallivant down to Florida. And if that happens, like I understand it is, I'm super excited to see you down here, homie.
Oh, absolutely, man. We've already I pre-registered yesterday, so Mike is good. He is correct. I will be there. That will be a cool event. I'm really looking forward to be able, we're forward to coming down in Florida, in the middle of the winter here, so it gets a lot colder and get to a little bit, even if it's 15 degrees warmer, I'll be happy.
For sure. Just don't let Mike introduce you to Florida Man. You know what I mean? There's Hank from Hammered Weekend Wear, and then there's Florida Man, so you got to be careful,
Oh, no, you ain't got to worry about that. See, I'll follow you, but I'm not going to follow behind Mike. He gets into a lot of trouble. His gallivanting is, he is the Florida Man. He just won't tell you.
Yeah, he's stuck in the mud at some crazy Burning Man thing out, and I swear in Nevada he's trying to get helicoptered home. I don't know what he's doing, but
it was Hank's idea. That's the bad part.
Justin Wyatt, representing Negative Camber. I've known you for a while. I remember seeing your truck years ago at Laid Out at the Park. I know you're a staple in the scene, especially in your region of the country, but you're known worldwide, Jay, and I got a lot of respect for you. Keep doing what you do, and we're super excited to see the success of Fair Enough, man.
Absolutely, brother, and I really appreciate you getting me on, give me a little bit of time to talk about it. I hope everybody comes out, enjoys the event with us, and it's just our first year. It's going to grow. We're going to keep doing some bigger and better things, and really excited just to add another show, not just in our region, but, on the East Coast, because, we all know that the West used to do it big, but it's the East Coast now. We hold down the mini trucking.
I love it. I love it. Well, everyone, hey, we appreciate it. Stay tuned, everyone, for Jordan Espinoza, our title guest. Justin, have a great weekend, my friend.
You too, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yo, I'm super excited to sit down with Jordan. I want to say this right. Espinoza, right?
Yes, sir.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on. I think that's the cool aspect, I usually don't lead off with this, but I think people will appreciate, I often say, hey, to myself, like, man, I'm having a lot of the guys I looked up to, or maybe some guys that were even a little bit older than me. So I think it's going to be a little refreshing too. You're kind of on the flip side of some of the older guys. I don't want to call them old, but you know what I mean? So you're a little bit younger, so I think you're going to help maybe bridge the gap a little bit on some things. I'm very curious to pick your brain.
I'm ready to blow your mind.
Yeah, dude, I love it. I love it. So, but Jordan, I'm going to throw a couple easy ones at you, man. Just how you doing, brother? How's life treating you?
I'm doing all right, man. Just hanging out, working every day and just doing what I can.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm bad about asking people this, and I don't think you mind sharing, but just kind of what you do in your normal day job. You're into a certain trade, right?
Yeah, I'm involved in the IBEW, which is the Electricians Union, and I'm based out of here in Bakersfield, California, local 428. Basically, I'm just an inside wireman apprentice at the current moment.
Cool.
Doing a 5-year program up until I journey out, and then from there I can take this adventure all across the country.
Yeah, it's crazy to think the world we live in now, especially here, there's like unlimited work, because it's like they're putting a Chick-fil-A up or this or that, and there's just constantly building is a huge thing, and obviously, as you know, code and all of those things, it all has to even be done a certain way. So that's a great trade to be in. So very cool. I appreciate you sharing that. Talk to us a little bit about this, like where you grew up. So I know a lot of times I start with these questions, but I'm kind of curious, like, where you grew up and maybe some of the things you were into as a kid.
I'm born and raised out of Bakersfield, California, one of the main meccas of the mini trucking world. And just kind of, if I'm not working, I'm tweaking on the truck. And if I'm not doing that, I'm kind of just hanging out. I really don't do a whole lot just because, it's not really my style. But
yeah,
if I do something, then I do something, but it's mainly just hanging out with family or doing something to the truck that involves, if it's not taking it out or working on it at some point, because something always needs to be worked on,
Oh, yeah. Now, when you were growing up, because I know, like, I think back to the movies and we always talk about the old stuff. I feel old talking about it sometimes. But, like, when if you're born, let's say, in the mid-'90s and do you have fond memories of, like, certain things you liked doing as a kid before you became an adult? Was it, like, watching certain movies or any fond memories that you had kind of, I guess, in the 2000s, maybe?
Not paying bills, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
I miss school. Honestly, people tell me I'm crazy all the time, but I would trade schoolwork for paying bills any day of the week. But
Dude,
I mean, really, when I was younger, growing up, I was always outside. I was always, riding my bike or doing something. I was always out in the garage with my dad, tweaking on something if we weren't too busy. But mainly, I was always out. I was an outside kid. Just to sum it up, basically.
Yeah, and I appreciate the honesty of the answer. And the reason why I wanted to ask that is I want the listeners to know, because we've got people from all different age ranges. Even if you were, born in the mid-'90s, right, or even early 2000s or whenever, I think sometimes the younger generation, and granted, I think there's 2 younger generations after me, they sometimes get typecasted into, well, they don't want to work and they don't want to do this. And I try to tell people, like, I guarantee the same people when I was a young adult, they were probably saying the same thing. Oh, these kids just want to drive these trucks that are low. They don't want to work. And it's like, no, that wasn't. So it's like, I think sometimes the whole generation gets brushed under this whole swath of, oh yeah, they're this kind of people, but they're really not. And I want people to know that. It's like, not everybody out there is lazy. Not everybody out there is into one thing. Not everybody out there stays inside all day. It's just, it's a mix of people, and that's just the way it goes.
Exactly. And every generation has their people that don't want to do anything or whatever the case is. And, it happens to be like that sometimes. There's nothing really you can do about it except just, do your own thing and, pound the pavement and make your money.
Yeah, exactly. I like it. Now, this is a question I'm always curious about, especially with yourself. Like, what was, and I think I know the answer, but what was the gateway drug, so to speak, into the automotive world for you, Jordan?
Oh, man, that's a story in and of itself. I mean, ever since I was a kid and I could walk, I was at custom car shows, or I was doing something that revolved around it. I only have my dad to thank about for that, because he's the one that brought me around this. I was hanging around all the local banditos and whatnot as a kid, and we went to lowrider shows, we went to custom car shows, and he didn't end up taking me to my first mini truck show up until 2014 when I graduated high school. But I mean, as a kid, I was always around cars. There was nothing else I didn't see except that, and there's no other world I'd rather be involved in, and it's been a blessing for sure to be involved with the scene that I've been involved with and the people I've surrounded myself with. So it really just ties back into my dad, because back in the day in the 90s, he was involved with Syndicate minis and compacts. I don't know if you remember them.
Yes, I do.
They were based out of here. Yeah, he was involved in that for a little bit. He had a 91 OBS that was dropped on phone dials of all wheels and whatnot. I always mess with him about that, and him and his buddies. And how can you drop a full size on a little 17-inch wheel? But he's like, son, that's all we had. We had to. If you were balling 17s, you were doing something.
Yeah,
and so yeah, it's wild to see the way the scene is came about. But really, if I had to sum it all up, it's really just because of my dad. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be anywhere near what I have right now with the truck, with the whole scene, with with everything I've gotten to be involved with. It all pertains back to him.
Yeah, and that was what I was thinking you were going to say, and want to give a shout out to, keep me honest, your pop's name is Junior Espinoza, and then he's on Instagram, JR Espinoza 71.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so when I had looked at some of your tagged photos on Instagram, of course, we're talking with NR Jordan, so look him up, Jordan Espinoza, NR_Jordan. When I looked at some of the tagged photos, of course, I saw Junior, your pops, and it made me look through some of the stuff, and it's got to be a great feeling. Like, you summed it up there really nicely, but very much like, I'm a little bit older. My dad loved that I had the passion for it. Where our situations are a little different is your dad was highly into it. My dad liked the classic truck, but didn't know, he wasn't as ingrained as maybe your dad. It's got to just mean the world to you to know that, like you said, your dad got you into it, but he's also your ride or die. It's like, hey, Dad, you want to go cruise? Hey, Dad, I'm doing this. He's got to have a smile on his face ear to ear, knowing, he did a great job, and I barely know you as a father to get you where you're at. You know what I mean? To help you get to where you're at.
Oh yeah, it's been a blessing for sure. I couldn't ask for a better parent and friend when it comes to this whole thing. He's pushed me a lot to finish this truck, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have anything really to look at in the backyard. But I mean, it's because of him. I'm pretty set. He's steered me the right way all of my life, and he's been there for me quite a few times when I've needed him, and I can't thank him enough. He's helped me in some binds when it came to this truck, and I can always count on him to go to a show with me or ask him advice when it comes to what I need to do or how can I go about this or just anything, even if it just doesn't pertain to trucks. It can come with just life advice, and I know I can always count on him when it comes to that kind of aspect.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would encourage people to shout out, and your pops probably knows this guy. I've met him through Instagram and social media, but Louis Castillo Sr., if you follow _syndicate with an S, so syndicate SMC _ the reason why I say that is if anybody wants a glimpse into that old school syndicate life, he's done a great job of sharing photos, and then there's a bunch of hashtags that these guys use, SMC for life and things like that. But I would encourage people, that crew, when you brought up syndicate, I got the hairs on my neck going, because like when you think back, and it's a whole nother conversation, but those guys really, the inroads that they built back in those days, the stuff they were building, some of the guys are still in it hardcore. I mean, they're legit like hardcore mini truckers. The compacts, obviously that was a big role, but it's going to be cool to know that your dad, was a part of a lot of that, and I'm sure he knows the damn history too.
Oh yeah, it's crazy to see and hear the stories that they have. I mean, I mess with them a lot because him, Lewis, and their buddy Big Mike.
Oh yeah,
I mess with them a lot because they're
Mike
like
Hoffman.
they don't have anything on us nowadays and whatnot, but when it comes down to it, they really were the ones that set the standard for what a club and what you can really bring to the table can look like, and they really help me out when it comes to this kind of stuff, and they kind of point me in this direction or that direction. And I mean, I mess with them a lot, like I said, but they really are the ones that help me out when I need it most, especially when it comes to mini trucks.
Yeah, and I assume you're talking about Mike Hoffman. We've covered his truck so much over the years, but long story short, I would tell people there's a lot of history there, and there's a lot to be told, and it's really cool that your pops is and was a part of that, and has all of those friendships, because that stuff will really lead you down a great path, having all of those connections. But so do you ever think back, and do you kind of have a fond memory of maybe your first quote truck run, at least in your mind, or is it such a haze because you were going to so much, you're just like, dude, I went to everything as a kid?
Oh yeah, like I said, I went to damn near everything. But my first mini truck show wasn't up until, like I said, I graduated high school, which back in 2014.
Yep.
I went to Summer Bandits for my first show, and him and I just kind of walked around. And I mean, obviously, it being a death heat over here, we only lasted so long. But I mean, it was something to see when it came to all those trucks. And that, when I tell you that grass area was filled, it was filled. And that really was my first show, truly. But my first show taking a vehicle was, I want to say, the next year. Cool. Going to Lake Paris for the Forbidden Show and Shine, which, like I said, was my first show with a vehicle. But yeah, it was something to see with that whole Summer Madness scene, and that's actually where I spotted the Frontier for the first time, and I wanted it ever since. But to tie back onto Big Mike's truck, like you had mentioned, that really was the inspiration for me to want to have graphics, because that was like, once I saw that, I love graphics. I loved the way the colors were, the orange, everything that tied into each other. It was just, I was like, if I'm going to do graphics, I'm going to do something like this.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've always got that issue of Street Trucks, the inaugural issue, within, it's right behind me here. And, I know Mike, one day we'll get him on. I think we'll be able to bend his ear enough to get him on. But that's the cool thing. And I think what's really key, Jordan, is that, I know a lot of us joke sometimes about things. We'll be like, oh, man, if you weren't reading Mini Truckin' Magazine, are you really OG? And, we all razz each other, right? We kid around with our friends and stuff. But I think the picture that you're painting for me that I think is so key that I want the listeners to know, especially if somebody's younger. I met a young dude recently at the Spark Show with him and his girl. And they didn't know a lot of people, but dude, he showed me pictures of his Mazda, and I'm like, dude, this thing is... unbelievable, the stuff he's been doing. Mm-hmm. But I say that because I want people to know, like you don't have to have been into mini trucking since 1999 or 1978. Like, you can get into it, whether your pops obviously was kind of the gateway there a little bit for you because of the stuff as a kid. But you certainly, anybody, if you want to live this life and you want to go to truck runs and do the thing, people can do it, right? It's not that far out of their reach.
No, it's just just find something. I'm sure there's flyers going around. Just social media is the biggest thing when it comes to something like this. So that's where you're going to find a lot of show flyers, and it could be right in your area, and you just, nothing stopping you but fear and air, and just getting over there and experiencing what like a family feeling can be, and what everyone can bring to the table when it comes to their vehicles.
Oh yeah. Now, you mentioned, this was a perfect segue, you mentioned the Frontier, and I got a chance to see it. LST was super busy. I know you guys had a lot going on. We did too, and it felt like, man, like I leave there and I go, man, it was like a whirlwind, right? So, of course, I got to see the truck. It was cool to see that and holler at you. Talk to us, though. You hinted, like, you had seen this truck. Like, I'm very curious to know, like, how did you go about obtaining the truck? Like, was some work already done to it? Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was back in 2014 when I'd first seen it, and it was for sale at the time. And my buddy Frankie, that's in the club with me as well, he was the current owner, or he was the owner of it at the time. And I was like, Dad, I have to have this truck. Like, look at this truck. Like, it's for sale. Like, we can get it. And he's like, no, it's not right now. He's like, just, you got to look around and look at this and look at that. And it had been passed around after that a few times, and it ended up in SenCal with another club member. His name's Jay. He had it, and I had picked at him a couple times to get it to sell it to me, and he's like, nah, man, I can't sell it right now. He's like, I'm doing this and doing that. And then I want to say, I don't know how much longer after we had talked, I was like, you want to sell me the truck? He's like, you know what? Bring me this, and you can get it off of me. So got the money together, went up to SenCal, and drove the truck home, and it's been in the backyard ever since.
Yeah, very cool. Now, paint the picture for us. Was it red? Was it body dropped? Was it just bagged? Was it kind of like it had good bones, but you could run with it?
It was bagged and body dropped, stock floor body dropped. But getting back to the house after I had picked it up, the fabrication on it was kind of wonky. Like, someone who built it shouldn't have built it, but it had gotten rebuilt by my buddy Phil and Corey here in Bakersfield, and they rebuilt it to where it's a solid driving truck. But yeah, it was bagged, stock floor body dropped. It wasn't red at the time when I got it. It was like a silverish kind of blue, and it didn't get sprayed red until I debuted it a couple of years ago, actually.
Okay. Yeah, that's why. Okay, because now if people go back far enough on your Instagram, they'll see it is like almost kind of reminds me of like you said, a bluish gray color. That was probably more of like maybe a factory color, but I mean, it's still, I always like the trucks in the factory colors even, but it looked cool then. But did you always have the vision for the red paint?
I honestly didn't. I was getting it in the process of getting it rebuilt. I needed to make it my own. So it had been that bluish silver color for the longest time that I can remember. And I wanted it to, like I said, make it my own. And, different colors get brought up because, paint's the hardest thing to do with building a truck. Like there's so many colors out there you can't even think straight. But I want to say it was, like I said, back to my dad. I think he's the one that suggested red, and along with a few other people. And just it's really, red's basically like one of my favorite colors, and it kind of just really sat with me. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go with red, and I've never regretted it.
Yeah, so then you get with KP Concepts. He lays down the renderings like he always does. Super sick work, right? Real clean. And then boom, is that when the vision was like, yo, this is going to be it?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Because unless you're a renderer or an artist or whatever the case is, it's hard to picture things in your head up until you can see it in front of you. And once I finally did, it was like, yeah, that's a ticket right there.
Yeah, and then, again, this is great about Instagram. It kind of tells the story. So, like, October 3rd, 2021, you post a photo, and you're like, here she is, everyone. The only picture you had taken all weekend, even with the new paint, because you were enjoying the weekend with the homies, the club mates. And it looks so good, a very timeless billet wheel. I'm sure a lot of mini truckers will tell you that. I mean, it's just, it was, at the time, great billet wheel, still is. And it had to have been a good feeling to go, yo, I'm out here, I'm rolling, man. I got my stuff on the rise.
Oh yeah, that was such a surreal weekend. It's, I couldn't thank, my type rep Danny enough for, full logoing me. And it was just like you were mentioning, it was literally the only picture that I gotten taken, and it wasn't even me that took it. But I couldn't have enjoyed that weekend more. My dad happened to be there with me. Everyone was there with me, and just enjoying the moment of slapping that logo on the back window and just having a great time.
Yeah, so give or take, that's October 2021. So 2022 comes October. And then a few more months brings us into 2023. So about a year and a half later. You then post a photo on February 21st, I think this year. You said that, well, the cat's out of the bag. I'd figure I would show what I've been keeping secret for the past months. I'm so pumped. So your dad, I assume, has this kind of old school connection and friendship with OG K-Daddy. Talk to us how, if my understanding was he laid down the graphics, how did all of that come about from the red base, that red color to, hey, now it's going to get graphicked up?
Well, basically, it came down to just, my dad told me to get with Kyle, see when he can get you in, and just you grow up with a painter like that for all of your life, you kind of just can trust him and just bring him a truck and let him have at it, and you're going to get the greatest product you can ask for. And basically how it started was I had to take it down to the shop that had sprayed it red the first time and have him take the clear off. And then crazy enough, Kyle would leave the shop because he actually lives around the corner from me. He would leave the shop every night and come to my house, and we would be in the backyard. And this is all going down during the winter too, leading up to LST. He would come up to the house on his way home, and he'd be here for an hour, maybe two, laying out one side. All right, I'll be back tomorrow. And then come back the next day and lay out the tailgate. All right, I'll be back tomorrow, and then lay out the other side, and so on and so forth. He laid out the hood and the dash and the roof and in one night, I want to say. And then after that, it was just spraying the base white and then laying all the colors out. And from then on, it actually went to his shop for final clear, because, the whole thing with the whole dirt situation and whatnot, not trying to get everything dirty and whatnot. Sure. So,
yep. Now, was it had to have been, obviously talking about these different generations, K-Daddy is legendary in so many ways. Like, I can't even draw a stick figure. This guy paints some of the sickest stuff as you and your pops know. Was it interesting as kind of the younger generation being able to see, number one, he's spraying your truck, but number two, did you get a chance based upon your work hours to see a little bit of it as it was going down?
Yeah, I was home by a certain time every day, so it wasn't ever an issue to see what he had going on. But it's wild to see how their mind works when it comes to laying out graphics and, I want to take it to this point, and I'm going to have it wrap around here, and then it's going to end right here, but I'm going to wrap around a graphic around that and whatnot. So it was something to see every day he would come over here and lay the graphics out. And, it's still wild to me that it was done in the backyard inside my dad's shop. So that's the craziest thing to me, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. The interesting thing to me is, like, I get stressed. Like, I can never rebuild a carburetor, or, you know, some of my buddies could just dump a whole bunch of parts and go, okay, let's build this. I'm like, wait, hold on, you got to lay this all out, you know, my OCD mind. But then you go, like you said, with painting, I can't even just lay down one piece of tape probably straight if I was sober. But let alone these guys, how they have to do it. And, you know, obviously the airbrushing thing's a whole different piece, but like you said, it's mind-bending, the stuff that they can do, and some of them have been doing it so long, it's literally like, you know, you and I just getting up, standing up, walking. K-Daddy obviously is just, I mean, needs no introduction. I mean, it's just legendary. I really dig, you know, seeing some of the photos on your Instagram, that it almost looks like that gray color. You know, it's hard to tell. It almost looks like something you'd walk in someone's garage, right? And you see these real badass floor deals they do. And I always love the speckles, or I don't even know what it's called. But when I see that gray laid down the way it is with all of that, I mean, dude, it just looks like so deep. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was going for basically like a granite kind of background. So it really tied into the truck, and you know, it really is such a badass paint.
Yeah, it's awesome. So when you were plotting and planning on that, based upon the timeline, it looks like you were pretty much gunning, like you knew you were already ready to rock and roll to go to Lone Star, one of our favorite shows. That was the objective, was to basically debut it there.
Yeah, because I had already something brewing up that I had to keep a secret for a long time, but you know, shout out to, you know, Mini Truckin Takeover for, you know, blessing me with a shirt design. And that's really ultimately what it came down to, because we had talked about it, and, you know, we got a game plan going, and my goal was to debut at LST, like we were saying. And, you know, that's always been a dream show of mine to go to, and to debut there was absolutely insane. And especially being on a shirt and in a booth. So, you know, shout out to them really for, you know, hooking me up and, you know, showing me love when it came to that aspect.
Yeah, and I was gonna say it towards the end, but, you know, I wanted to say congrats on being selected for one of the Mini Truckin Takeover shirts, because, you know, he does a really, really good job. I had a chance about less than a year ago to chat with him on the phone for a while, and I learned some things about him, and he really is a passionate guy. And that's one thing, I tell you what, that I took away from our conversation, in knowing that, you know, he puts the time and effort into picking these trucks, and he does, you know, he picks certain things, and to be able to see it there, but then you had to share a little bit of the time. Of course, you know, you were over there for a while, then you were over with the No Regrets fam. It had to have been a good feeling, you know, seeing Wilk over there, Steve with his Suzuki, and then, you know, you park there, and just, I mean, how many guys and ladies you had there. I mean, it was an epic party at Lone Star.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like you were saying, Andrew that man is down for the scene, and he loves Mini Truckin, and I couldn't see him doing anything else other than that. And you know, he really does, like you're saying, take the time to pick those trucks out. And, you know, for him to pick me out of all those trucks that are out there, it really was an honor to be selected. And, you know, I can't thank him enough for doing that for me. And yeah, being parked out there with all the No Regrets crew, and being parked in the booth, it was an experience for sure. But, you know, to get all the kudos and the, you know, high fives and whatever you want to call it, from everyone out there, it was a really, you know, really warm feeling, because, you know, it shows me that, like, hey, like, I built something these older mini truckers can really appreciate and understand when it comes to the old school graphics.
Yeah, and something I want people to know is, again, you know, when we're talking with Jordan, you know, he might be 10 or 15 years younger than you, and I don't mean that with any disrespect. I mean that with all the respect, because it really reinforces that you would look at someone could walk up on your truck in a parking lot or at a show and be like, "Yo, man, this has got to be some hardcore, you know, mini trucker," and you are, but, you know, you don't have to be from 1985, you know, in terms of mini trucking to be a hardcore. So that, I think, is a key takeaway. And again, I will say this: when I talked to Andrew from Mini Truckin Takeover, you know, we level set on some good things, and I took a lot of weight from that conversation, and I told him, you know, we got to slap hands again. We got to get him on. I have learned over the past few years, and if Andrew happens to hear this, but this goes for everyone, I've tried to turn any little bit of even if I ever had a frustration towards a friend, locally here or anything, I try to turn it into a positive, because I've really learned from other people to say, time is short, our time's limited here. And I sometimes wish even others in the truck scene, some shops, right? There's people out there that have had long-standing kind of, I call it Hatfields and McCoys type things, or club mates or whoever. Yeah. I always encourage people, get out there and, try to settle things and just move forward, because you know what? There's enough out there for everyone, and there's a lot of good people out there. And I would never want anyone to get railroaded, for being passionate about what they love. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, exactly. Like I totally agree with everything you're saying. It's everyone should have an opportunity to express themselves when it comes to this thing, because no one really should have any negative things to say when it comes to that, because it's their way of expressing themselves and showing, hey, like this is what I like and this is what I like to do. And that's what's shown me is being involved in the whole mini truck scene is like, there's some old heads, no disrespect, but there's some old heads like that will really like show you the way and like, hey, like, you're doing this, you might want to do this, or just really, they can really piece together some really good advice when it comes to this kind of thing, because they've lived and breathed it and have done this 5 million times, from tearing their truck down once and building it back up. So they know a thing or two. That's what I really love about this whole thing, because they really will stick their necks out for you when it comes to helping you out.
Yeah, shortly before we wrap up, I'm going to pick your brain on that, because I think I got a good one for you. But before I ask you about this next topic that ties into Ernie, is there anything else you wanted to share about the truck that we maybe did? Because I tell you what, man, the red paint sticks out. The graphics put that thing over the top. It's a Frontier. There's some Frontiers in the scene. There's not a whole ton of them. They're not like S10 crazy amounts, but there's a decent amount of them. So it's kind of a truck that isn't maybe at the top of the food chain in terms of quantity, which I really dig, right? Because you kind of went down your own path and said, hey, I want something a little different. But is there anything else you wanted to kind of share about the truck before we move to the next topic?
Really just like, when it comes to the graphics, it's the running through the dash and over the wiper cowl and the hood and going onto the roof. That really is what my favorite part is. And that's what I've heard from a lot of people that have, looked at it, and I've chatted with over at LST and here in town and whatnot. Their favorite part is really the dash. And I wholeheartedly agree with them, because it's really, you don't see that a whole lot. You see it when it comes to old school builds.
Sure.
But when it comes to, a lot of the new school, it's like you don't really see that a whole lot. And for Kyle to do that for me, and him just have full control and full reign when it came to this, it really set it over the top and really brought the Frontier to the next level. And like you're saying, there's not a lot of Frontiers out there. I wish there was. There's a lot of S10s, a lot of Toyotas and whatnot, but I really wish there was a lot of Frontiers that would pop out a lot more. But it is what it is, and they're out there, like you're saying, and we'll shine together.
Yeah, I like it. I love it. And one of my aspects of it is, one, to your point, and I'll say this a lot, kind of in their 2000 builds, you'd see a lot of guys starting painting dashes. All the dash would get pulled out. They paint it. Full size trucks. People still kind of do it, but to your point, obviously laying the graphics on it, you don't see it as much these days. But also, I'm a big fan of when the entire bed floor is lifted. Yours has done some of the photos I've seen on Instagram. I like it because it's it's all flat across. You see the wheel tubs are still red. They kind of have that factory appearance, right? Because it's all raised, and then you've got a little bit of material and or paint. But to me, it all flows, and it just kind of gives like that complete look of the mini truck to me.
Oh yeah, it's with the whole bed. It really just was bringing out my interior into the outside.
Yep.
So that's why, like, I have the tan bed liner. My wheel tubs are still red, and I have the front face of the bed and the tailgate skin is red, just to really tie in from the interior. And I really just have to thank my dad and his buddy Slim for that, because they're the ones that wanted to do that and thought it would be cool, because I was going to do a wood floor kit, but being me, I'm going to order the wrong one, which I did. And so they just like, here, just do this, and I guarantee it's going to look sick. And sure enough, it did. I just couldn't picture it in my head up until I saw it, but it really came out the way they had envisioned it, and I can't be thankful enough. And when I got to the auto mixer back in 21 when I debuted it, people thought my wheel tubs were air tanks. And so that was pretty crazy to hear that. But yeah, they're just the stock wheel tubs, and it's just a raised sheet metal floor. But it really brought out the interior, which is really a cool thing.
Oh yeah, there's some cool photos. Again, you can check out NR_Jordan. The cool thing is I like the 5-spoke, as I mentioned, the billet wheels, the graphics. It's laid out. It just has a great, perfect stance inside the bed. We talked about also one of our key partners, and they've helped me in the past, AccuAir. Do you have the E-level on it, or did you just have the touchpad? Anything you want to touch on there?
I have the AccuAir E-level Plus, actually. So, and I'm going to be biased, but I will never run anything other than AccuAir because it's never been giving me any issues. And, just having that touch of a button just to raise the truck up completely, or if I want to skate half an inch off the ground, I can do that at the push of a button. And, it's really the coolest thing that I've done to this truck. Yeah,
my friend Jimmy at Jimmy's Running Customs, he's very biased as well, and he only runs that. I've ran it now in almost everything I've ever had, and knock on wood, I've never had an issue. The good thing is they've improved upon some of their things, and as you would expect, like even an iPhone, you look back, or an Android phone, a Google Pixel phone, all of these companies, they got to continue to improve, or they're not going to be able to sustain their customers, right, and want to keep them. Right. So they've been able to improve, and I'm a big proponent of their products as well. So I know it's personal preference, but I did want to get that in.
Oh yeah, and like everyone's got their, like you're saying, everyone's got their preference on what they want to run. Every company's going to have their flaws. It really comes down to, like you're saying, it's just a preference.
Yeah, and back on July 30th, you had posted on Instagram. You said the first, I believe you pronounce it Weekfest. WEK Fest?
Weekfest, yeah.
Weekfest, okay. So you said first Weekfest. That had to have been pretty cool. Was the response there? There's probably a good mix of different generations at a show like that, right? A lot of the young up-and-coming dudes, some guys well established. Did you get a lot of love there too?
Yeah, it was a lot more of the younger generation that was there, but there were some older guys there as well. But I did get a lot of love for the truck just because it's a mini truck. There are some mini trucks there, but they're all the stance ones, yep. Racing style Yodas, and I was the only one with graphics and a body drop mini truck, and in a sea of imports. It was a sight to see, and it did get a lot of love, and I can't thank anyone enough for just taking the time to just even look at it.
Yeah, for sure, man. I would tell people, go check it out. I mean, if some of you might be older school guys and, you're not on Instagram, you got to get with the gram. Even if you don't really put your stuff out there, you can still at least go check out NR_Jordan. Now, on a topic that may not be so easy to discuss, of course, a loss of a friend, a mentor. In this case, the club El Jefe, Ernie Macias, what I would refer to as kind of like was a North Star in our scene. So many people looked up to him, club mates, his friends, obviously his family. He was hardcore, right? To 1,000%.
Oh yeah.
What was it like to you personally, potentially, knowing Ernie, and just the impact that he had on the club, man? Any interactions that maybe you had with Ernie over the years?
Oh man, like there's too many to count, but one thing that always stuck out with me is how dedicated he was to everyone and how much of a family man he was, and he was really just a down to earth dude, like everyone knows he is. And there was one year at a Forbidden show that it will always stick with me to this day. But this man would hold out his pocket and tell me to hold it, and so did some other OGs. But that was our thing. Whenever we saw each other, they would already have it out, waiting for me, and it always stuck with me with that. And but he unfortunately never got to see the truck done. It was in the building process up until he had passed away, unfortunately. But that truck wasn't complete until I had that star sprayed on the roll pan. That I had to have it on there.
Yeah, and I tell you, I didn't know him near as close. I mean, I kind of knew him more socially in terms of, the magazine and his work and the things he did with Low Life Mikey and, obviously starting the club and all that stuff. And we slapped hands and we've had him on and stuff. And it's almost surreal. Like it really, I mean this with all respect, it kind of brings a tear to my eye anytime I get in deep conversation about him, because when we were at Scraping the Coast a couple months ago, we went and visited our friend Greg Miller, who ran Custom Car Show Productions. For the most part, he was one quarter of that, but he was the guy that everybody knew, and we went and visited his grave. And I also thought of Ernie too, because it's crazy. Ernie was so young. And I think when we lose friends, a lot of us, as we start to get into our mid-40s, myself, we start to think, wow, like, man, there is really no guarantee for tomorrow. And I encourage people, I'm not trying to be sappy, but I encourage people, like, get out there and do the stuff you love, because to your point, Ernie didn't get to see your truck done maybe, but I tell you what, man, if there is what we believe, if he's in a better place, which I believe that I know he's smiling down and going, dude, there's another star right there, man.
Yeah. He was truly like one of the most down to earth, hardcore, mini truckers that I could have known. And every time I saw him up in during 2020 when we were in Vegas for a mini truck showdown, he saw me, he's like, "Where's the truck?" And I said, "Man, it's still getting built." And he's like, "Man, I better see that thing soon." And I said, I hope so too, because I want to see it done as well.
Yeah, that's the good pressure. It wasn't like he's yoking you up by the collar, but he's like, you probably look back and you're glad that he asked you, because that he meant, he wasn't like, "Hey man, you're gonna get kicked out of the club, you got to get your shit together," but he seriously wanted to be like, "Yo man, I want to see it."
Yeah, and there's this one picture I have of another member from Arizona getting logoed when we were at Forbidden, and I just happened to be, standing right next to him. And that's something I'll always keep with me, is that photo, because it's just, while we were celebrating someone else, it was, to have that caliber of a person, with you and be the president of your club is really something special.
Yeah, anytime I post no regrets, I've said this before, I always hashtag it, and I smile when I do, because Ernie, if there was a vehicle that I was like, man, I don't know if this is no regrets, I can't see the back logo, and Ernie would come in, no regrets, CC, and the CC, it was always cool to me too, because, Ernie having that lowrider love for the Cadillacs and everything too, the big boats, CC I always thought of, as like car club, right? So he kind of, even though it might sound funny, it's like, okay, well, it's a truck club, it's a car club, but it was like, even with the build that Wilk did, right, that in conjunction with him, and it's like you look at it and say, Ernie wasn't just a truck guy, he just wasn't a car guy, like he was a true enthusiast, and I'll always appreciate that. And that's why it always brings a smile on my face anytime I do hashtag no regrets CC.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, because that he was all about everyone just stepping up their game and doing what they knew they could do.
Oh yeah. Now, one last question about Ernie, and I don't want to get too personal with this, but if you could say one last thing to Ernie, right as of now, right, August, this isn't going to air until early September, but, let's say September 2023, if Ernie was like, "Yo, man, what's one thing you got for me?" What would you say to the Big Earn Dog?
Man, where do I start? When can I come down to see you and show you what I can bring to the table?
There you go, man. You go to the El Jefe, remember, it's like you go, hey, like in The Godfather, the old 70s movie, he's like, hey, come to on your daughter's wedding day. Like when you go to Ernie, you got to bring something to the table, right? Like, hey, I want to show you what I got, man. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guarantee he'd tell me, like, he's like, this is it. And just, I'm like, you know what, man?
You're like, okay, we can't all be ballers, Ernie.
Exactly.
Man.
That's good. There will be never anything be able to top that Impala that had finally gotten to the level that it's at, and it breaks your heart every time you see it, but it's such a work of art.
Yeah, knowing it's an SS and it just has so much character in it that he would appreciate, and the people that stepped up, and just, I mean, yeah, dude, that's a heavy one, man. That car is so awesome, and the photos that would pop up. I've never been to that place called the Pink Hotel that they have shows, I think, filmed there and stuff. I've seen some photos of it, and it's just like, wow. Every time I see it, I just go, dude, like,
yeah. Bones Brigade was actually filmed there. The Search for Animal Chin.
Oh, with some of the scenes. So there you go. You're schooling me. I'm glad that wasn't the trivia this week, because I would have got that one wrong. I didn't realize that. Yeah. Every time I see that place in photos, they used to have an Instagram. I don't know if they do anymore, but I would, when I see it, I go, man, I want to open a place like that. And like, could you imagine me going to my wife going, hey, I want to open a hotel? She's like, okay, a hotel. And you're like, well, nobody's going to live there. Well, what do you mean? No, we're just going to have like car shows.
It's more of a destination location.
Yes. Yeah, like photo shoots. I mean, the little shows they have there are like, bro. Man,
oh, yeah,
so
it's the Genocide Car Club from down south that holds the G-side party at Pink Motel is, there's some heavy hitters that go there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen just some of the photos I've seen. I'm just like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
So, what does it? You've kind of summed this up already, but like, what does it mean to you now? To be in a club and represent as hard as you can. What does it mean to you to be in No Regrets?
It means everything to me. I mean, I can't imagine myself in any other place except with No Regrets, and I can't thank Danny enough for finding it to logo me and welcome me in with everyone, and they're basically like they really are a second family to me, and I can't be thankful enough for them. They really are humble human beings, and they really will help you when you're down.
Yeah, and that's great. I always like slapping hands with them, and I know Steve and I haven't been able to fully link up. I got this short list of about 6 people that I got to get knocked out before the end of the year, and Steve's on there, and I really hope, I know he'll probably hear this, and I want him to know, like, definitely want to link up with them. But there's a lot of good people out there, and the ladies too. Christina, we can't forget her, and I know a lot of times, like, we say the term, I say, guys or whatever. But, there's a lot of the ladies out there that are running circles on some of the dudes, and I love it. You know what I mean? Because I'm not afraid to say the ladies are running some shit. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, absolutely. You can see what they can bring out and how hard they go. And like you're saying with Steve, you're going to get a character with that, because I love Steve to death, and, but he's an amazing fabricator and really good at what he does.
Yeah, he is, and he's been involved with a couple of the TV shows over the years, and he knows how to pivot and move. I know he had that great connection to, Max Fish and just so many great people. So, but a couple more questions, then we'll wrap it up. So, before I ask you about giving advice to the younger generation of mini truckers who are up and coming, that's going to be my next question. So, a little hint there. On a lighter note, so like if I'm going to ask you in a minute about maybe some advice that you would give to the younger generation, what advice do you like getting maybe from one of the OGs in the scene, whether it's your dad or some of the kinfolk that he in his circle, right? Is there any advice that you've gotten or that you always appreciate when someone maybe puts their arm around you and go, hey man, what about this, or anything come to mind?
Really, it just comes to, never bite off more than you can chew. Always, budget how you want to do this and never go above that, because once you do that, you're going to be overwhelmed, and it's going to be, a not so fun experience. So that's really what he told me to do, is never, he's like, your pocketbook, you can only build what your pocketbook allows you to. And, it was hard for me to understand that a lot of times, because I want it done now or I want it done yesterday. But really that's really all I would, soak up, is really just that. It really helped me out a lot, because it showed me that, hey, these are money pits, and you can get way too deep into it to where you can't build yourself back up. And really that's what I take from it, was just never live or never build your truck more than what you can afford, because it'll just, like I was saying, it'll just turn into it. Yeah, it'll consume you.
That's great advice, and I could probably build upon that with some of my homies and tell people, and I've tried to tell people over the years, like, don't blow your stuff so far apart that it's not saying that things can't get put back together. We all know that time and money, but if you can enjoy something like what you're doing, like, you're driving it, then you're going to say, hey, I'm going to do a full paint job, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to pull it off for a little while, then I'm going to get it back on. Once stuff starts, being parked, engine pulled, drive shaft out, rear end out, a year or 2, 5 years, it makes it, I'm sure if there was a chart, the odds go way down quick on something being able to be finished. A lot of people I knew never thought I'd finish my truck. So that's fantastic advice. Now, what advice, something that was different than what you just said, would you give to maybe the younger generation? Maybe you've got an 18-year-old, or you've got someone that's like, I don't know, I went to a show and, I don't know, these guys, they seem old and they got these flat bills. I'm scared of these guys or whatever, right? What advice would you give to the younger generation, or a guy or a lady that's like coming up going, hey, I wonder if I want to jump in this scene?
Never give up. Just keep going. No matter how hard it gets, it's just, you got to push through, because right on the other side, you're going to have something that you've dreamed of having, and it'll be completely worth it in the end, because without hard work, you're not going to get, to the end of the rainbow, like everyone says. And, that's really all I could say is just don't give up.
Yeah. 1,000. Something that is important is, I'm sure you and your friends and clubmates and a lot of us that are listening to this podcast, like we've had a build where something just doesn't go right. And it's frustrating. I mean, I had one earlier this year that I refused to talk about, and I just was like, are you kidding me? Like, I try to do something and build something and build a tank, and then you run into an issue, and it's easy to give up. That's why I tell everybody, it's easy to go, you know what, screw it, I'm selling it, it's gone. The hard part sometimes is just sticking with it, sticking with the plan. And that's, in my mind, that's how I sum up what you said. So I appreciate you sharing that. Okay, last couple questions. Now, I had a couple people on social media that had chimed in here on this one. Were there any builds or builders, so any particular truck or a company or a dude or a lady that built a vehicle that inspired you? Like, even if you go, hey, maybe it's going to be your next build or a build that's on your list, right, as you get older. But is there any one build or any one builder that maybe inspired you over the course of the time? I think Eddie Molina submitted that one.
Yeah, and my dad's going to hate me for it, but Last Look is what really got me, hey, like I want to do this and go, do this kind of style graphics and whatnot. But that's really like, Last Look is what really did it for me. And it's still my favorite mini truck to this day.
Yeah, and shout out to the crew that was there, in Bakersfield. Like you said, so much of it was kind of the mini trucking mecca, is what I would call it, for a long time. And, that includes, obviously, Kyle. I want him to get all the credit, Dion and Craig. We've had them on. We've also had Lambie on. But, I know obviously there's a little bit of, there's some tension between those guys. But you and I both know they're very talented, and K-Daddy is as well. So that is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. And like we had mentioned before, to have that caliber of a painter, touch my truck is really just, you can't ask for anything better.
Now, excellent. Is there any one thing that you've ever seen on a vehicle? Maybe for me, it was like a detailed chassis that was like, it just got my juices going. But is there any one like idea or any one wheel or a mod or anything that you've ever seen that made you go, you know what, I want to go up the next level? Or was it just the paint side of it?
It was really the billet side and the paint side, is if I had to narrow it down, because you paint and graphics and billets, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. When people see the BP sign for British Petroleum, I go, that's billet and paint, dog. That's right there. That's right up my alley. I love it.
Exactly.
Those are a couple that I got from social media. So before we close it out, here's my last question. Is what's next for you and or your truck? Like, do you have ambitious plans for it? Do you kind of go, hey, I'm going to enjoy what I got for a while, down the road I want to build a XYZ, or are you just out there enjoying life now, Jordan?
I'm just really, now that I've got it finally running solid, and I've done some engine bay touch-ups and whatnot, and made it really run right, I'm really just wanting to enjoy it. It's to the point where I can't really do much else with it except just drive it and until the wheels fall off.
Exactly. And they're billets, so we don't want them to fall off, but we know the expression.
No, not at all.
Kidding. Believe me, I've had wheels fall off before. It's not fun. But in all seriousness, dude, it's been cool chatting. Is there anybody else you want to give a shout out? I know you might have a close friend, or we've talked about your dad a little bit, but is there anybody else that you want to shout out for all the love and support that they've given over the past however many years?
It's just shout out to the No Regrets crew, and for them welcoming me with open arms, and really all I can think when it comes down to it is my dad when it comes to this aspect, because without him, like we'd mentioned, I wouldn't be anywhere close to this scene. So really just shout out to him, and I'm very, very thankful for all the help and advice he's given me over this whole course of the build.
Yeah, that's 1,000. Again, NR_Jordan. You can also look at some of his tag photos, or you can type in JR_Espinoza71. Check out his pops. And again, I'm going to ratchet it up, as I love to do. I mentioned Syndicate MC with an underscore on the front and back. That's Luis Castillo Sr. These guys are OGs, and I say that with all respect. I mean, these guys have done it all. They were there. During all these builds and paints and just, I mean, truly, there's so much more. I wish I could do an episode every day, because literally I could do, there's enough out there. You know this. But again, congratulations and shout out to Andrew from Mini Truckin Takeover. I love this shirt. I would tell people, go out there to his website. He's on Instagram. He's got one of the biggest Mini Truckin pages. See what he's got left. In closing, do you expect to have the truck out? I don't know if there's any other shows that you'll be going to this year. Anything else on the plans, on the horizon before 2024?
I'll be out. Nothing major except, local shows. I'll be at the cancer show here in down south, and a Day to Remember show up in November at State Line in Vegas. But next year is really going to be more. I'm going to be at LST, but the truck won't be there because I got to enjoy the truck with it there. But the one after that will be it'll be Camp and Drag for me.
Oh, great! Wow, yeah, because Ernie loved going to that show. That's one of the places.
And
first places.
It's everyone, and everyone's told me it's if you want to go to a show that's a high caliber, then you need to be at that one.
Yeah, there you go, Bill. There's the perfect commercial for you. If somebody's willing to drive from California to Waveland, Indiana, where there's no cell phone coverage, it's a damn good show.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's all I've heard from anyone that's talked about it, is how amazing of a show it is.
Jordan Espinoza, I'm going to call you, I meant to say this at the beginning, I'm going to call you mid-school, right? Because my buddy Diener, we talked about old school VMX. He goes, well, I'm kind of more mid-school. And I had heard that term, but I never really thought about it. But I would really think, based upon where your line in the sand is, I think you're kind of a mid-school guy. You're not, I wouldn't call you new school. You're mid-school, man. And I think that, with all respect, is a good term for guys from your genre. I don't know anybody your age that's into it as much as you are, so I salute you for that. And I just hope you keep living your dreams. Much love to your pops, all the No Regrets crew worldwide. Rest in peace to the big homie Ernie, Big Ern Dog. And that's all I got, man.
I appreciate you having me on and taking the time to hear what I had to say when it comes to this whole new generation.
We just ask you keep the pedal stomped, keep it legal, and stay on the rise, our friend.
Every day.